In this tutorial, you'll learn about how to use medical subject headings, also known as MeSH, to search for articles in Medline. By the end of this tutorial, you'll be familiar with the basic processes of searching for MeSH, including the mapping display, scope note, and tree view. To access Medline, go to the JCU Library homepage. Here are two ways of getting access to the database. The first is by going to the Guides tab and typing in your discipline. This will match you to a discipline guide where you can select Medline from the list of databases. Alternatively, on the library homepage, you can go to the Database tab, type in Medline, and select Medline from the A to Z of databases. Let's examine a sample research question, break it down into its key components, and demonstrate how we would search for them. Our research question for today is, identify how to help Indigenous Australians to quit smoking. Our two main concepts are Indigenous Australians and smoking. Type in our first concept, Indigenous Australians, into the search box. Next, ensure Map Term to Subject heading is ticked. This will find MeSH terms related to your concept. Then click Search. This is the mapping display. It shows a list of subject headings related to our search term Indigenous Australians. Our results do not show an exact match for our term, so Medline is providing possible alternatives. The MeSH Native Hawaiian or other Pacific Islander seems a little ambiguous, but it is the top option. Medline is an American database with international articles, but has an American view of the world and American spelling. Before selecting a MeSH, remember to check the scope note by clicking the blue information button. This will help you determine if the heading is relevant. MeSH definitions are very specific, so no matter how confident you are that this is the correct term, always read the scope note. Does the definition fit the needs of our research question? If not, at this point, you would return to the mapping display and check the scope note of a different MeSH. However, glancing at the list of used for terms, we can see that our population group is part of this definition. These used for terms tell us what keywords redirect to this MeSH. These keywords are useful to harvest as synonyms for our concepts if you're going to search other databases that do not have subject headings or MeSH searches and only allow for a keyword search. Return to the mapping display by clicking the back button on your browser. You'll notice two checkboxes, Explode and Focus. We'll look at these later. For now, click on Native Hawaiian or other Pacific Islander for more information. This is the tree view. It displays our MeSH term in relation to broader and narrower subject headings. Scroll down to Native Hawaiian or other Pacific Islander, highlighted in blue. Check the tree view to confirm that our MeSH term falls under a logical broader term. In this example, we see Native Hawaiian or other Pacific Islander falls under the broader term population groups. Some MeSH have narrower terms. Investigate any that may apply. Note the three sets of checkboxes. The box on the left of the MeSH will find every article that has the MeSH assigned to it. Our selected box, Native Hawaiian or other Pacific Islander, indicates there are 11,522 articles. If you tick Explode, Medline will include the original MeSH and any other narrower MeSH in your search results, broadening your search. This is important. Articles are indexed to the most specific MeSH available. Using Explode will make sure you do not miss any relevant articles in your search results. In this example, there's nothing under Native Hawaiian or other Pacific Islander, so there's no point in ticking Explode now. If you tick Focus, Medline retrieves results in which the MeSH is considered the major topic of the item. Focus can be helpful if you find that your MeSH is very broad and has a lot written about it. For this demonstration, the box to the left of Native Hawaiian or other Pacific Islander is checked, and Explode and Focus unchecked. Scroll back to the top of the page and click Continue. This page allows you to specify a specific aspect of your MeSH term. You can choose any number of subheadings you deem appropriate. For this demonstration, tick the Include All Subheadings box. Most of the time you would choose this option, but sometimes there are specific headings you could select to narrow down your search results. Go back to the top of the page and click Continue. In the search history, an entry for Native Hawaiian and other Pacific Islander appears. Let's search our next concept, smoking. Type smoking into the search box, ensuring Map Term to Subject heading is ticked, and hit Search. The mapping display shows several MeSH that could be useful. Cigarette smoking, smoking, smoking cessation, smoking cessation agents, and smoking prevention. They all look like MeSH that could apply to the research question. Check the scope of each one to identify the best fit for our requirements. Sometimes there may be more than one option to choose. For this demonstration, even though I looked for smoking, and there was a MeSH that was an exact match, our research question is how to help Indigenous Australians to quit smoking. Therefore, the MeSH smoking cessation seems to be a better fit, so let's choose that. Click on Smoking Cessation. The tree not only shows smoking cessation, but also smoking reduction and tobacco use cessation as MeSH. These all fit our concept, so choose them all. There's nothing under any of the MeSH I'm interested in, so there's no need to explode the terms. I will tick the box on the left of each subject heading I want to search. Scroll up and ensure it says Combine with Or, as we want any of the ticked MeSH, and hit Continue. In the search history, we have our two separate searches, Native Hawaiian or other Pacific Islander, and smoking cessation, or smoking reduction, or tobacco use cessation. Tick the box to the left of these searches. The option to combine with and or becomes available. And is used to combine the different concepts we have together. Articles retrieved will have both these MeSH attached. Or is used to combine synonyms or several similar terms that represent one of our key concepts. Our second search, smoking cessation or smoking reduction or tobacco use cessation, is an example of an OR search. Today we want to combine our two searches with AND. This gives us 215 articles. Scroll down to see the results. Scrolling through the results, there are also articles that talk about Maori. This does not fit our question about Indigenous Australians. These were retrieved because the definition of Native Hawaiian or other Pacific Islander included more population groups than just Australian Aboriginals or Torres Strait Islanders. To remove the unwanted articles, go to the search box and search for Australia. There is an exact match. Check the scope, then click on the MeSH term. Underneath Australia is each of the states and territories. We want them included, so tick the Explode button and hit Continue. Include all subheadings. Combine Australia with the third search using AND. There are now 125 articles. This tutorial demonstrated how to search using MeSH. To learn how to search for keywords in Medline, continue on to the next tutorial.